In this video, I'm going to be ranking all of the Scorched Earth Ascended creatures on a tier list. Now keep in mind I'm a PvE player, so most of this is suited towards PvE play. But anyway, let's get into it. First we have the Mantis, which I'm going to put in the A tier. This one is a really good all-around creature. You can tame it with Deathworm Horns, and it is a passive tame in the Dunes area. And once you get it, it is a pretty good mount. You can go around and killing a bunch of stuff. You can basically put any weapon you want in its hands, and that will allow you to go around and kill anything. If you put like swords in its hands, for example, or just without anything, you can gather a bunch of fiber, which is what I like using it for, because getting fiber is really useful. You can also put stuff like hatchets in its hand and get wood and stone, or picks and you can get flint. So you can basically get all kinds of different resources with this thing. And so it is extremely versatile, and it can do so much different stuff. Next we have the Merottops, which I am also going to be putting in the A tier. This one is a great starter mount. You can pretty much do everything you need to early game. It's a great travel mount. They're not that hard to tame. They're just simple knockout tames if you get like a boomerang, or you can use trank arrows, whatever. Once you get it, it is really quick, so you can get around the map and outrun some of those creatures, as well as it actually can defend itself pretty well. And if you have a higher level one, you can kill things like raptors, terror birds, and wolves that come attacking you. But you can also store a bunch of water in its like hump or whatever, and then that allows you to drink from it. And then you can also like refill your canteens and stuff, and you can also irrigate crops and stuff around it with the water ability. It's super useful, especially when you're traveling to areas that don't have any water. You can actually stay hydrated and not die. Next we have the Rock Elemental, and I'm actually going to put this one in the B tier. Now I'm not a PvP player, which is why I wouldn't use this thing, but it still is pretty useful, mainly because it's extremely strong. You can pretty much kill everything on the entire map with it. It has a 50% reduction from all damage coming in, so it's like really hard to kill, and you're pretty much insanely hard to kill with this thing. As well as can gather stone, which is actually pretty useful. If you don't want to use like a Dodic or something, you can use the Rock Elemental instead and get a bunch of stone and gather it pretty easily. Next we have the Jerboa, the first shoulder pet on the list, and it's going to go in A tier. Shoulder pets, you could put stuff in their inventory and it halves the weight, which is already pretty useful. But the main use for this thing is it can basically to tell you when the weather is happening. It will have different weather signals telling you when weather is going to happen. Of course, there's a bunch of different weather events that happen on Scorched Earth, like the sandstorms, heat waves, and thunderstorms. All it is very useful to have a warning before those happen, because if you get caught in something like a sandstorm, it cannot end well for you. So having a warning beforehand is a very useful, and that's why I'm putting it in A tier. After that we have the Limantra, and I'm actually going to put this one in the C tier. I mean, it is a flyer, but it's like the most useless flyer ever. It has like no stamina and no weight. You can only move like 5 feet before you run out of stamina and land and usually get killed. It really can't defend itself because its only attack is that poison thing, and it kind of goes fast, but not really. It's not that quick. And I don't know, I just don't use it that much. I would usually just skip this and end up getting an RG beforehand and just using like a Merottops for travel. And I know some people like use this to go get Wyvern eggs. I would never do that because I feel like it just wouldn't be that useful. And for me personally, I don't use the Limantra that much. But I mean, it can kind of be useful if you need to fly somewhere that's not super far away, or you just need to get somewhere. But yeah, that's why I'm putting it as C tier. And the next creature is the brand new Fosus. This one I'm going to be putting in the A tier. This one is quite a useful creature. It's really strong. It's a great battle mount because it has all kinds of different abilities, like the tail whip thing, or it can swim in the sand and go pretty fast, so it could actually be useful as a travel mount if you did need to use it for that. You can also do like the whirlwind ability and sink things in the sand and dismount flyers and stuff, but I don't play PvP, so that's not useful for me. But the ability I like the most out of it is you can actually swim in the sand and break rocks, which will give you a ton of flint. You just go around for just a little bit and you'll get tons of flint out of it. Next up we have the Vulture, and this one I'm actually going to put in the D tier. It's not the worst creature ever because of course it is a shoulder pet and you can basically store stuff in its inventory to reduce the weight, but that's like the only use I have for it. Some people like to use them in like herds and attack stuff, but I'd rather just use a normal creature to go kill stuff. It'd be a lot easier and a lot less work than having to make a whole army of these things. And I don't really need the shoulder pets. And besides, the Jerboa is way better, and I'd rather just be using a Jerboa because it can actually tell me when the weather's going to happen, which the Vulture can't. So that's why it's going to go in D tier. And then we have my personal favorite creature, the Wyvern. It's going straight up to S tier. This one is pretty much like the best creature for the map. It's pretty much like designed to be the best creature on the map, but it is really good. You got the 3 different types. You have the lightning wyvern with the extremely powerful lightning breath. You got the poison one that shoots the poison balls, and then you have the fire one which shoots the giant fire breath that does a ton of damage. They're pretty much the strongest creatures, which allows you to, in PvE, pretty much kill every creature on the entire map. and nothing can really stand a chance against you, as well as they're just really great for mobility, as they're really fast and have a pretty good amount of stamina and a ton of weight, so you can carry a bunch of stuff. You can also carry decently sized creatures like the Enkies and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you can carry the same stuff a Quetzal can, except for a little bit less, but yeah, this thing is really good. And then we have the Thorny Dragon. This one is a pretty useful creature, so it's going to be going in the A tier. There's a few reasons for this one. First of all, it's pretty strong. You can actually kill a decent amount of stuff with it, but the main ability is he can gather wood, and it's like the only creature that can actually gather wood efficiently on this map, because beavers, mammoths, and therizinosaurs don't exist on this map, so your only choice is the Thorny Dragon, and it gets a decent amount of wood, as well as it can do a weight reduction on them as well, so it only weighs 25 pounds per stack, or at least half of what it would normally weigh, which is another very useful bonus. Next up, we have the Phoenix, and I really wish I could put this one higher, but I'm going to have to put it at the C tier. Now, I believe it has been made a little bit more common on Arc Ascended, as I have literally found one on day 1 of Arc Ascended, and I have never seen one before, and I've been playing before they came out. Like, I remember when they came out, and I have never seen one before, like, in-game before, but now that is getting into the point of why they're ranked low, the fact that they're so rare, and of course, they're not as rare anymore, but that, and they're kind of difficult to tame. They're a very late game tame is what I'm getting to, and because of that, you would think a late game tame would actually be useful in the late game, and it's not really that useful in the late game at all. It doesn't really have good weight. It can go decently fast, but you can't really use it to kill much stuff. Like the Wyverns and stuff, which you'd have way before this, are way better. It's just not really that useful for what you have to work for and get for, but it still, I guess, can be useful, which is why I'm going to put it at the C tier. And then we have the brand new Oasis, part of the Bob Talltales pack, and this one's going in the S tier. There's just so much it can do. Obviously, it can float around the map. It's basically a mobile base. It can make resources for you depending on which one you get, and then you can basically just passively get resources. You can build a base on the back of it. You can put crop plots down and it will automatically fertilize them, and I'm very lazy when it comes to fertilizing my crops, so the fact it does it automatically for me is pretty much an S tier in my book already. But it can also bring your dead dinosaurs back to life, so that alone also is a really good and probably would make it S tier. Also, the pools can cure you from diseases, and you get a buff from them as well. So overall, a ton of reasons why this is S tier. And of course, I've been saying, some people saying the bringing back to life is a bit overpowered, and I don't think it is, because like if you have a breeding line of mutations of Gigas, for example, which is a lot of people use examples for, you can't, like, you're gonna have a breeding pair, you're just gonna be able to remake them. Like, bringing these things back to life with a 24-hour cooldown would be way more convoluted and complicated than just breeding another one and it getting imprinting on it. So it's more of like useful to bring your creatures back to life that actually mean something to you, or like creatures of sentimental value, you can bring them back to life. That's the only kind of use I would see for the Oasisaurs bringing back to life. But I wanted to mention that because I've seen people commenting about it saying it's overpowered because you can do that. But that is going to be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe. Thanks for watching, and bye.